Why is it so messed
What?
up?
Why? What's wrong?
The screen's a little, just my end. The screen looks a little distorted. Maybe I'm wrong. All right, we're live again. Sorry, we had a few glitches. It's been a little weird. Rich would tell us something, Rick, and then just drop out of like everything. Like he just would fall off the planet. I don't know where he was. Okay, so let me start this off. Ricky is Taylor. Meet Ricky. Meet Taylor. And everyone.
How are you, buddy?
Great, thank you.
Ricky. So Ricky and I met. Ricky is an addiction specialist. He's been doing it, I think, 15 years, maybe more. He'll quote me if I'm wrong. Worked with some of the biggest rock stars in the world. I was fortunate enough to meet Ricky in New York City in 2006 when I was just a pup in sobriety, counting days, and trying to pull my head out of my car and my keys out of my ass, so to speak. And I did that, and we've remained friends for many years. And the reason I wanted Ricky on the show is because right now we face a lot of issues in the world of addiction and sobriety and, you know, putting everything together. So welcome to Friday Fire, Mr. Ricky Barnes.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks, Taylor. Good to be here with you guys.
Appreciate having you on.
So, Ricky, I'm going to throw up the first question out. We are going through this crazy pandemic, people in lockdown. How have you found it for yourself and for people dealing with this adversity and their sobriety?
Wow. Well, I've got a very, I don't even want to call it interesting, but unique situation personally. Let me talk about others first. People are having a rough time, man. This is like, never have we had so many people experiencing hardship at the same time. And so where people would have someone they could turn to for help, someone they could reach out to, well, those people now are not available for help because they're going through it too. And even the people in the wellness field, in the recovery field, are experiencing really bad things and going through hardships. You know, financial relationships are breaking up. And so there's not a lot of people who still have it together, you know, and who are still able to help. And Mike, I know that you are one that have, you know, you've gotten through this with flying colors. I know that you've taken some major hits, but you still are out there every day and you're helping people. And that's what I strive to do too, because the more I help others, with even just, you know, what may be considered lame problems, the more I help them get through this, the better I feel. So, but for me personally, I had practice when COVID hit, because I got diagnosed with prostate cancer last September. And in January, I had surgery and had it removed, and I'm cancer free, but I had a very rough recovery, and I spent 9 weeks in bed. And at about week 4 or week 5 of my recovery is when the lockdown happened, you know? So I was well into being at home, bed rest, you know, just being on lockdown. So actually what it did for me was it gave me more time to heal. So, you know, I wasn't working already, and, you know, and I was getting by, but, you know, it just, the COVID gave me more chance to heal. But what it did, though, was it got me out of myself, because I saw so many people who were hurting and people were reaching out. It's like, you know what? Even though I'm sitting here recovering from cancer surgery, I still have the capability to help other people. And so I was able to get on Zoom calls with people and phone calls with people and really make a difference, which made me feel better about what I was going through myself.
Oh, wow. Taylor?
Yeah, no, I love that. I mean, it's that you could feel a deeper level of resonance with people by going through these experiences and then being able to relate with them and allowing them to relate with you. But I think with the accessibility of everything right now, to where you have the Zoom calls, you're able to do these video calls face to face through a camera, through your computer and everything. It's opening up so many opportunities for people. From my perspective, at least, it looks like there's a lot more opportunities for people in the health and wellness space right now to help more people out, and for those people who need it to get help even more so now.
Yeah, isolation right now is an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even though we're all in lockdown, there's there's no reason why we can't be touching people, because Zoom has blown up, and and FaceTime calls now. I get more FaceTime calls than I've ever had before, and isolating is nothing but an excuse right now. If you want help, it's out there, and you can get it, and you can find it.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Taylor, I got a question for you. Does it blow you away that Rick has been sober longer than you've been alive?
Oh no, dude! Right?
Jeez.
I'm the one that should be wearing a beanie covering up a hairline.
I'm sorry, I had to say that. Like,
I'm on.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks.
He's 24 and you're 29 years sober. I'm just saying.
Wow. Hey, well done to you. Kudos to you for doing that, man. That's quite the feat right there.
I got sober at 28 years old. I knew it was time. It was done. I actually came out of a coma and went, wow, there might be a problem here. Maybe I should get some help. I don't think normal people end up in a coma in Palm Springs when they don't even know how they got to Palm Springs.
Not a casual Saturday night for most people.
No, not really.
All right, here's a question. So people need contact because being in a meeting is so important for people to have community, for their oxytocin, and obviously for fellowship. So where do you see meetings right now? Obviously, we're opening up slowly, but there's got to be social distancing. So where do you see the future of meetings now going?
Well, I know I'm in Las Vegas, and they've reopened some AA meetings here. They're limiting it to maybe 25 people, 30 people, depending upon the size of the room. I have not been to one. I'm still very cautious. Coming out of cancer, my immune system has been compromised a bit, so I'm still playing it safe. But I do a lot of the Zoom meetings. Now, what's lacking in the Zoom meetings is the actual face-to-face. And to me, that's where the healing really happens, and that's where it occurs. It's walking into a room, seeing a face, grabbing a hand, shaking a hand, giving someone a hug, saying, "How you doing?" And and seeing that in their eyes. And I feel really bad for people who are in new recovery right now because they're missing out on that. That's so necessary, that human contact. Now, for me, I traveled the world for over 15 years, working with a lot of big celebrities and such, and so I'm used to spending a lot of time alone, and I would have meetings on FaceTime when I was traveling. And so I know how to work that, and I know my comfort zone. I know when I need to see somebody. And so what I have done in the last few weeks is I've called one or two guys that I know here in Vegas in recovery, and I've just asked them, meet me for a social distance coffee, because just the energy coming off another person, sitting with them and sharing, tragedies or feelings or thoughts or fears, getting off your chest. It's a great help for me to do it that way. But I hope we can get this under control at some point soon, because it's so important for people who are new in recovery to have that sense of belonging, to be in that room full of people who understand how you feel. That's one of the big problems, for a lot of addicts and alcoholics and such, is they feel alone and they feel like no one understands me, no one gets me. And then you walk into these rooms and you go, oh my God, that person just talked about the feelings I'm having. Oh, I belong here. So it's going to take time, but we'll get back to the meetings for sure.
Taylor?
Yeah, does that translate over? So there's that aspect of that innate sense of wanting and belonging, that sense of belongingness. But with that too, do you think that there's also the need for people to listen? Like, do people have maybe been around people who don't listen to them or don't want to give them the time to be listened to? Because I've heard this analogy where this man, after every day of work, goes to a light pole for 5 minutes. And after a week or two pass by, him and the light pole are best friends because the light pole is just sitting there and not talking or responding and just listens to him. And I think that's a really important aspect. Do you think that sometimes people might forget that is needed though? Like they need to just talk, like they have to just share it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So for me, one of the best skills anybody can have is to shut up and listen and really hear another person, because we all want to express ourselves. And it's so important to, as they say, get it off your chest, man. Dump that shit, get rid of it. And we have to have that process. Otherwise we sit in the feelings and we're stuck in the feelings, and the feelings brew and they fester, and then we start thinking stupid stuff, so that makes sense to me with the light pole, the analogy, because it's someone who's not judging you. It's you're expressing yourself. You don't feel judged, because that's one of the biggest fears I've seen in people is they're afraid to talk about what's going on with them because they're afraid of what people are going to think of them.
Right.
Frankly, I don't give a rat's ass. It's on my mind. I'm going to say it.
Well, that was a big thing that I went through a few years ago when I started to come out and talk about my sobriety in such an open platform after shooting a couple of TV shows. And a lot of people said, you shouldn't do that. And I go, why? And they're like, well, it's an anonymous program. I said, well, I'm not talking about AA. I'm talking about I smoked crack, I did heroin, I drank. And then people were like, oh, and now because I'm so open about those conversations, it helps other people get sober. So I think that what Ricky and what we're all saying here is that, first of all, anyone out there right now, if you're struggling, reach out to us. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Contact us. I check my messages. Ricky's not on Facebook. You can find him on Instagram. Yeah, and contact us. But do not be stuck in by yourself thinking you're the only person struggling with this. We live in a crazy world right now.
So I'll share some personal stuff with you. And, I would talk about being a drug addict. I was addicted to cocaine, heroin, and alcohol, all three of them equally. I would talk about that openly, but rarely would I talk about recovery, because I got sober in an anonymous program, and we were taught, we don't talk about it. And I was working in the recovery business with a lot of high profile people, and I had to keep my mouth shut because of all the, confidentiality agreements that I had signed. And it's only been in the last few years that I've become more open. And I wish I had done it sooner, because I could touch so many more people. And now I'm finding that I am. And, I have suffered with mental illness issues. I have myself been in a psych hospital before. Not something I recommend. Two things I'll say: don't get prostate cancer, and don't get yourself in a psych ward. But
great takeaway.
If you need to go, by all means go. I'm so glad I went, because I was going through a turmoil in my life. And I told my therapist how I felt. And he said, well, you can either check in yourself or I'm going to check you in. And I said, I'll go. And, it's horrifying, but I'm so glad I did. And, if someone is having mental health issues or addiction issues, by all means, reach out. I love to talk about it. This is what I do. For the last 19 years, I have worked in recovery, and it has given me an incredible life. And frankly, I was so reluctant admitting this, but I like to help people. I can be a selfish prick from time to time, but I really enjoy seeing the light go on in someone's eyes.
All right, Big Rick, we're going to wrap this up in 2 minutes. So what's one thing you could suggest to someone if they're really struggling right now and they feel like they're going to make a bad choice?
Well, reach out is the first thing. Don't make any decision on your own. Any thoughts you're having about decision making, run it by someone who's, maybe got their shit together. But don't keep it in. Share the feelings. Reach out to someone. Even if you call the AA hotline or the mental health hotline, make the call. Get rid of the shame. There's nothing shameful about it, because you're saving your life.
Okay.
100%. I cannot agree more with that.
All right, man. We're going to get out of here. We're going to let people have a good day. Stay sane. Stay together. in harmony, in unity. Stop the fighting. Stop the bullshit. Stop the racism. Stop the insanity. Stop doing fentanyl. Stop snorting coke. Stop doing meth. Just make positive, incredible choices. And I'm going to leave you guys with this. Be engines, not anchors. Drive people. Okay? Don't bring people down. Life is too short in a body to harm others.
Beautiful. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Love you.
Everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.